Chat is like fully into this. Ooh, this must be exciting. This must be exciting. We're gonna get some lore. I know absolutely nothing about this guy. I know absolutely nothing. I am honestly, this is gonna be a first for me. I am willing to experience this rabbit hole with you.
Is like a window. The internet is like a window. It allows us to see into the lives of many. Some people keep their life private online, and others allow it to be shown for the entire world to see. Some people are living...
Not gonna lie, that chicken sandwich looked really fucking good. It might just be that I'm a little hungry, but yeah, dude, I fucking want that chicken sandwich.
Completely normal and functional lives, and others are, well, that speaks for itself. But if it wasn't for the internet, you would probably have no idea any of these people even existed, and that's for better or for worse. But due to this, many people of many shapes and sizes have documented basically their entire lives online, and we get to see just how some live those lives. Now, of course, if we were just talking about a regular person, we wouldn't be here today. Who wants to talk about some guy who goes to his regular 9-to-5 job every day, stuck in an...
Bro, you're talking about Jerry? Jerry goes to his motherfucking 9-to-5 job every day, and I would watch his ass. I don't know, I'm just kidding. That'd be boring as fuck, dude. Just watching him fucking, like, work on goddamn spreadsheets. Nah, dude, you're right. You're right. Nobody gives a fuck about that.
endless loop.
Coming to bed, honey?
Yes, dear.
That's not interesting. That's too realistic. And you come to YouTube to get away from that. Instead, what we're talking about today is one of the strangest people I have ever seen on the internet. And it's a challenge even...
Yeah, dude, Amazing Atheist was such an asshole and pretentious. He's like... There's a ton of people that think they're smarter than everybody. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The moment you think you're the smartest guy in the room, you become the dumbest person in that room. And Amazing Atheist suffered from that. So did Steven Crowder. So did David Jaffe. I mean, the list goes on and on. Hassan Piker, Vosh. It happened to Destiny. Once you hit that point that you think you're superior to everybody else, you lose the plot.
saying his name. This is Ulillillia. Real name, Nick Smith. Ulil is a man who loves video games, really loves video games, and has had video games integrated into every aspect of his life. He was discovered very early on in the early 2000s, and has since had a ton of aspects of his life documented. Some praised him, some ridiculed.
Dude, I've never heard of this guy. This is weird. I'm usually, like, pretty in it for a lot of locales, but I've never heard of this guy, and this is right up my alley. A gaming locale? What the fuck?
Him, and some just thought he was an interesting person. And I'm in the last group. Join me today as we dive into the story of Ulillillia.
Bro could have, like, bro looks like he could have been Asmongold. Not gonna lie. I feel like they're cousins or some shit. I liked that. I really liked that intro.
What could possibly go wrong?
I'm doing something a bit different with this video. My previous story of videos have been on people who were very detestable. They were usually seen in a negative light, but I think I like to be a bit more positive than the average YouTuber who makes these types of videos, because I can see the potential and glimmer of hope in some of these guys. Ulillillia is not going to be like those others. He's very strange, but he's not unlikable or detestable. Quite the opposite, really. Sorry for the clickbait. I might crack a few jokes here and there, but the main point of this vid is to show you this guy's quirks and really pick...
Bro, I feel like he could have been Asmongold. Bro has an 80s British metal cut. Oh, dude, he does look like he's fucking British metal. He looks like he couldn't figure out, like, he fell into, like, 80s rock late, and he's trying to emulate it. Bro, he's that fucking quiet kid that wore the AC/DC, t-shirts in, like, high school and shit. It's like, bro, AC/DC's, well, it isn't even a thing anymore.
Pick at his brain and why he is the way he is. Ulil is not just a neurodivergent, he is the neurodivergent. We'll see why that is. Nick Smith was born on January 10th, 1984 in North Dakota, and, well, despite
Spinal Tap, great reference.
how much of a spectacle he will become later in life, we surprisingly know very little about his adolescence, so I'm going to make my own fanfiction. I'm going to imagine Nick was born, and as he got older, his family started noticing all of his abnormal sensibilities and quirks. There was probably something going on upstairs that they didn't know about, and it was the 80s, so the studies on someone like Nick probably wouldn't explain much of anything. I should go ahead and mention this.
Bro, were those actually his parents, though? Because that explains a lot.
It's very important. With it being the cornerstone of my channel and being mentioned almost every damn video, Ulillillia is not diagnosed with autism. He has never been officially diagnosed with it, which is actually surprising. What he is confirmed to have is he has a very severe case of obsessive-compulsive disorder, which makes him have all sorts of phobias and fears, and a ton of obsessions, which we'll get into later. His case of OCD is to the point where it majorly affects his daily life and ability to function in social situations. Basically, with his condition and needs, he's probably not going to have a functional normal life, which may be a blessing and a curse. While he may not shine in the normie world, where he did shine was the realm of video games.
Dude, like, they seem like decent people. Yeah, dude, they seem like decent. I just noticed that for fucking hair, like, his mom has the same hair as him. The daddy's cooler than most dads. Oh, see, I don't know any of this lore. I just noticed that the mom had the same fucking hair as him, and I'm like, that makes sense. Now I understand why he got the haircut. The mom was like, give him the same fit as me, G.
Nick is a huge gamer. He always has been. He was born in '84, the ripe time to become a gamer. It has been a part of his identity and always will be. But the thing is, Nick is also the most dedicated gamer I have ever seen, with not a hint of exaggeration. I thought speedrunners playing the same games over and over and over was some dedication. But Nick puts them to shame. Nick is claimed...
Dude, here's the thing about Speedway. Midweek. You gotta go easy on them, bro. Nah, I don't go easy on anybody. But the speedrunners are crazy, bro. I play a game, and I might not play that game again for, like, 5 years. I beat a game, and I'm done with it for a long time. Maybe a couple years. If I really like the game, I'll pop back into it. But speedrunners playing the same game over and over and over again, that would drive me up a fucking wall, dude. I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it. I've looked at some of the speedrunning stuff, thought maybe I would do it, and then I actually break in and try it, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. I have to play the same thing over and over again? This is awful. So that's like another level of dedication. Anybody who's like this is just like, it's insane. I give him respect, but I'm just not about it.
And he has put hundreds of thousands of hours in games you would not expect. Games that only have, arguably, a handful of hours of gameplay in them. He has somehow pulled off the most tedious, mind-numbing task.
Speedrunners are pretty gay. I'm sorry, I'm dying on this hill. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I just, like, respect them. I saw a couple good speedrunning documentaries, like YouTube documentaries, and I was like, oh, bro, these guys are kind of fire. I changed my opinion on them, and then ever since then, bro, I have a newfound respect for them. It was mainly this fucking Hobbit video. This one fucking Hobbit video I watched one time. Dude, it was such a good video that I had a respect for speedrunning I never had before. And then I just went down a rabbit hole of speedrunning videos.
As possible, no normal man would ever attempt in a game. Listen to some of his feats.
Super Mario 3. Oh, how I remember this one so much. I've actually literally gotten a max score on the very first level in the game. This one I have about 1,500 hours on. Seriously, 1,500?
1,500 hours? I think the most I have in a game is like Halo Infinite, and I think I might have like 800 hours in it. I don't know. But 1,500's a lot. In Metroid? Bro, what you doing, dog? Jesus! They make new games, bro.
Hours. And there you have it. I've maxed the score, and I'm only 8 minutes in. Amazing! The levels are really big, so there's
amazing!
A lot of places they can figure out that two-tailed fox named Tails that I just love abusing so much. Toss them in the water. Create debug created courses of bumpers and Carnival Night 2. Just ding 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 ding.
Bro went fucking giggity schmoodle on a beat right there, bro. That music coming in, bro, made it seem way sketchier than it probably was. But dude's got an like unhealthy obsession with this shit. Maybe. I mean, what is a healthy obsession, though? Let's be honest. What is a healthy obsession? I do think dude probably needs to go outside and get a little bit more life going, but I don't know, dude.
Like that, and wait for him to drown, get a new fox, and go from there.
You know, role-playing games and the concept of grinding. You know when you have to kill a ton of things to get your level up in a game, the most tedious part of any RPG that everyone hates? Well, Nick spits in your face and shows you how it's done.
Only a few more plays remain, and then I finally have level 9999 for the very first time in this game. Yep, the nines.
Jesus, bro. Let's go. I did this in Elden Ring, not gonna lie. I fucking farmed that bird. I would listen to podcasts and farm the bird until I was God. I'm not gonna lie. That's exactly how I beat Elden Ring. I became fucking God and I won. But I got to a level that I thought I could beat the thing, and then I beat the thing. I didn't like farm to the point that it was like ungodly. I did that on New Game Plus a little bit because I was just like, what else do I do in this game? A good game should make grinding semi-fun. Yeah, that's what I said. Elden Ring, I actually liked killing all the shit that was in that little, like, fucking grind where I'll shoot the bird, I'd kill all the thing on the hill, I'd run down into the bloody waters, and I'd kill all that shit. And then I'd rinse and repeat, dude. It was so much fun. It was something, it was almost cathartic.
The strangest one of all is, Nick has a massive obsession with a furry mascot character with attitude from the...
Oh, he's a Sonic fan, dude! There is not a thing as a normal fucking Sonic fan. They don't exist. Sonic fans are meant to be the craziest people on the internet. They always will be. They're always going to be. They are the ultimate fucking cringe of the internet.
The 90s that is strong with the neurodivergent community. That's right, Bubsy the Bobcat. He's probably...
Oh, dude, I got thrown off. He's a he's a Bubsy fan? That's like odd. I didn't know anybody was Bubsy fans. That game I even forgot existed.
The world's biggest Bubsy fan.
3,600. That is a lot of play, and it's all because of two main things. Glide hops and speed like you would never believe.
Speed like you would never believe is overly represented in Sonic fans, bro. The Sonic fucking degenerate rabbit hole goes further than anyone in the universe. And there are some people that shove like giant tentacles up their ass, and they can't even hit the bottom of the Sonic depravity.
You can just go so fast on this game, it just blows your mind away.
He has scoured every single inch and centimeter of every one of his games. He has videos up showing secrets about Bubsy 3D probably nobody else knows about.
Just go forward until you see the shadow. Once you see the shadow, stop moving forward. Welcome to the highest possible point you can stand on in the entire game.
He has numerous videos on Bubsy 3D. He probably has more hours in this game than the entire base of people who bought Bubsy 3D, collectively.
I know this game extremely well.
He'll just thoroughly dissect every single part of it, every single mechanic, everything about it. You know how there are those obscure video game glitches that make you wonder, how did they ever find this out?
Bro, motherfuckers like this will just sit and fucking endlessly dive into the shit until it just hits a new extreme. Like, some of the shit that you have to figure out in the little key pushes that you have to do to make some of this shit happen is so fucking insane. And these people just, like, they put, like, 80 billion hours into something. And they find they will walk against every fucking wall. They will touch every fucking cock. They will lick every fucking clit until they have it completely figured out.
People like Nick and pure dedication to the craft. To also add on to this dedication to video games, Nick is also a mathematic genius.
He made his own game? He made his own game. Well, let's check that out, dude. I'm actually interested. He made his own game. Was it any good? Does anybody know anything about it? Because I would play that if it was something that interested me. If it's like a fucking... what's the game? Patreon. Power leveling, running, lane. Okay, so it looks like that, maybe? I don't know, dude. I can't find the game. Here we go, Reddit. I found a little game that you created by, has anyone else tried this? It's pretty cool. I see one of the concepts up front. What a cool guy. Okay. Love to... Huh. Is it good? Will you have fun? Hard to know. Okay, well, we went down that little rabbit hole, but hey, dude, that's impressive. A lot of these people are just like spurred out about video games all the time, and they find all the problems with a video game and then never actually do anything about it. That's pretty cool.
He has tons of math equations and all sorts of hypotheticals and such he's written just for the hell of it. He created his own color system he followed using mathematics. He created his own sleep schedule using his math skills so he could follow it in his own way.
Instead of following a 24-hour cycle like most of us are otherwise familiar with, I follow a 25 and 2/3 hour cycle.
What?
There's 24 hours in a day, and my sleep-wake cycle's 25 and 2/3. The difference? 1 and 2/3 hours.
The man is clearly talented in more ways than one. He would apply his love for video games and mathematics to his everyday life.
Bro's fucking Asmongold if Asmongold had some tism, bro.
Equating any sort of skill or practice in something and turning them into experience, like in an RPG. Now, yes, it does seem a little strange and maybe a bit cringe to do some "my life is like a video game" type of shit here, and I thought the same thing too at first. But reading on this dude and all he's accomplished, you can't help but be charmed by the guy, and we'll get into why throughout this video. So Nick is driven by pure love.
He seems so innocent and quirky. He doesn't even see he doesn't even seem bad. Like it's kind of interesting. I wonder if he got like bad like harassment and stuff like some of the locals, because he doesn't seem like that type of guy. It seems like people would watch him kind of like because he's goofy. I don't know. I don't feel like he. I don't know. I'll have to keep
dedication to video games and math. He's willing to go to such lengths to basically tear them apart and apply mathematical equations and such to them. And it's for games that aren't even that good. But just so you know, this obsession and passion for video games Nick has is not entirely positive. In fact, it also affected Nick in a very negative way that not many people would even think about.
Are you talking?
Like I feel like so far he seems like a very likable guy that's just kind of charming and a little bit socially inept.
I don't like heights.
In the vast majority of video games, you're usually dodging obstacles. You know, enemies, pits, spikes, whatever gets in your way counts as
Oh, so he's not a locale. Okay, good, because he doesn't seem like a locale.
an obstacle. But what makes gaming so fun is that they're easy to spot, and you usually know what is the danger to be avoided in a game. But video games are fictitious. Most of what happens in the games stay in the games. Nobody tries to apply anything we learned in Bing Bing Wahoo to real life. Our boy Nick played video games so much, as he grew up, he gained phobias over various different things in real life that he learned to avoid in games, as he thought they would harm him in the real world. He has a laundry list of strange phobias and fears, and we're going...
What? Bro, to be honest, his parents kind of failed him a little bit. Like, my parents used to have a rule that as much as I read a book, I could play a video game. So I was always reading and playing. And then I also had golf and a bunch of other stuff like hunting and all this other shit that I did and I enjoyed. And I was constantly doing all these other things. And it feels like he just stayed in his room and played games. He was enabled too much. That's like a real thing, enabling somebody to the point that they don't feel like they have to go outside or have to do anything. Like, I really didn't have a choice. I was just always, this is what you're doing, this is how it's going to be. Whether I wanted to sit inside and watch movies or not, that was never an option. It was like, this is what you're doing. And yeah, I've preferred to play video games all the time, absolutely. But at the same time, I do respect the fact that I am a more well-rounded person because I was exposed to different avenues of things to do. Fishing, hunting, biking, fucking all, golf, all this other shit.
I'm going to go over some of them right now. One of the most troubling of his phobias was his fear of blue water. He had played many games where water automatically killed you, and growing up, he thought it was the same thing in real life. So anywhere with any kind of water, he would attempt to avoid. But you know,
What?
Water is kind of impossible to avoid. Blue water is hard to come by, but essentially he got over this fear due to the fact that water is just water. The same thing also...
Yeah, I don't care if it's the stock, but I think, it talks to his parents about that. Yeah, dude, they should. I mean, I'm glad that he's gotten over some of the fears. Like, I have a phobia. I have a really bad phobia of mice and rats. It's something I hate and I try to push through all the time. It's just something that there's something you can't avoid about those creatures being in your existence and being around. It's something I will never be able to avoid, but it's something that I have to work through. So, I mean, I understand having a phobia.
Happened with grass, as he equated grass with video game spikes. He thought if he fell on grass, it would kill him. This phobia was also never going to last because, well, you can't avoid grass. Another one of his phobias is stairs. It's not that he's afraid to go up the stairs, but he will only go up them in a very specific way. He states he has no clue how this even came about, or even...
This is just OCD. This is just OCD. This is not as much of a fear, but this just kind of lumps back into his OCD.
and how this phobia...
There used to be this chick. There used to be this old lady, and I think she was kind of I think she was getting like spotting parts of Alzheimer's or dementia, and she lived above me, right? And she would open her door, like close her door, open her door, close her door, and then she would do a spin and then jump. And then she'd walk like 10 feet, do a spin, and then drop something and pick it up and then jump. And she would do that all the way to the mailbox. And then she would drop her mail or whatever she was holding, pick it up, spin, and then jump. It's like something that like a lot of people, not a lot, but you'll see it occasionally. It's always kind of a little sad that somebody has gotten to that point. But what are you going to do, man?
It started, but he can only go up them like this. And this looks like an absolute pain of a phobia to have. I wonder how he would handle those rocky steps. And then there was his fear of mirrors. Oh boy, this one is crazy. Nick had an awful fear of mirrors. He would go out of his way to avoid ever looking into one, dreading what would happen. He had such a crippling fear of mirrors, he even mapped out this theoretical department store and all the ways all these mirrors could be facing, and then planned an entire route so he would never have to face or look at a mirror in the process. And he goes into excruciating detail about what he would do to ever avoid coming across a mirror and
Bro, this is some Howard Hughes shit. What the fuck?
the department store, treating it again like a video game. He had a fear of ketchup and mustard because they reminded him of a video game lava. He had a fear of the letter P. I think we just found his true identity. Now yes, all these phobias are very strange and unconventional. But look, the definition of a phobia is an irrational and unrealistic fear of something, and these fit that definition perfectly.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly my fear with mice and rats. It's just so irrational. I get like super weird about it. I don't like it.
But yeah, too long didn't read. It's a bunch of really weird and really irrational fears. Exactly what I said. But the thing you must understand is, today, we live in a world where people will demand the entire world stop for them and just them. Everyone has to stop everything they're doing and cater to them. But Nick was different. He never asked anyone to take down anything or get rid of anything because he hated it. He just stood there and took it and found out his own way around these phobias.
And there's also concerts going on over there. I otherwise never really go to those because of one thing. Noise. And that's high. It's really loud.
Dude, this is sick, dude. This is so... No, I didn't have a traumatic experience with rats or anything when I was a kid. It's just, first time I ever saw one, I just, like, it freaked me out. And I think it might be just, like, a added effort. Like, when you're growing up hearing history, like, almost every single civilization had, like, a plague, and that plague stemmed from, like, mice and rats. And I think maybe that did something to me. I remember the first time it really, really affected me was I opened a bag of feed and a mouse jumped out at me, and it hit the side of the little truck bed, because I'm one of those little golf carts with the truck bed, and it scared the fuck out of me. Like, I almost, like, just left, and it was just something that I'd never felt before, and ever since then, I just have this really bad, like, abrasive reaction to mice and rats. I don't get it. Like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's a weird one. I can't tell you. I mean, it's just, like, so illogical. I don't have any, like, basis for it. It just, they bother me.
Some of these phobias he never got over, at least to my knowledge. His parents even considered sending him to a hypnotist to fix some of these phobias, but he went against it last minute.
I wanted to hypnotize Nikki to get him out of the mirror situation and the stairs situation.
I mean, I wasn't even that young when that happened. That's just one time that I remember it just really fucked with me. And I think it was just because I never really saw them that much or noticed them that much. They were just kind of something I knew of, but I never really had any experience with them. And I was like 16, 17 when that happened. 16, I think I was 16. And it wasn't even like and I remember just like going to walk away, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you so afraid? Why are you shaking? This does not make sense. It was like this whole thing where I was trying to rationalize what was going on, but I was like, and I had to like talk myself up to open the bed so that this mouse could run out. And I used the shovel to unlatch this little bed and let it run out. I was so scared, dude. I don't know why. It literally is like my biggest thing. It'll send me on like a fucking tirade if I see one. It's just, I don't get it. It's really weird. It's really weird, and I don't like it. And it's just something that's like fucking awkward. Like, I saw one. There was this like little back shed at my work, and I went in there to get something, and I saw a rat scurry across, and I literally went out there, opened the door, and stood from like 4 feet away and threw Ramek inside of the shed because I was too scared to go in there. It's so bad. I don't get it. Don't know why. I have no idea. It's not. I didn't have anything traumatic happen to me where it would cause that. I've had stuff happen like where I was exposed to them before. After that first one I saw, that I realized that I was afraid of them and I had this bad fear. I had more instances start to pop up, and I think maybe it was just because I was more aware that they exist in the world, even though I never really saw them before. And so then I started to have more of a... Actually, the first time I ever got in contact with a small rodent, I was like 13, and I stepped on a vole in my backyard. That really didn't, like, it was messed up and stuff, but it was more like I felt bad for stepping on it because I didn't know it was there. I was raking leaves, and and all of a sudden I felt a crunch that wasn't a leaf crunch, and I was like, what was that? And then there was just a dead vole there, and I was like, oh my god, what did I just do? Yeah, I forgot that happened too. That was fucking wild. Yeah, so it was an uncomfortable moment there, but it wasn't. I wasn't like really scared. I was just more, what just happened? I mean, I was a little uneasy. I don't know.
And I thought, oh, if I hypnotize him. So I went to a hypnotist and I asked him, and she said, sure, we can do that. The patient has to be willing to do it. And at that time, Nicky was. And now he won't do it. He lost interest.
His family has really tried to work with Nick's lifestyle all these years. They're supportive and tried their best to accommodate him, like his eating choices, which one of his favorite meals is degreased pizza, where he heats up a pizza and goes through the painstaking process of taking all the grease off with a paper towel.
Carbohydrates are 4 and protein are 4. But look how much this all comes up. This is a lot of grease. This is why I degrease, and this is why I'm actually otherwise at a pretty healthy weight overall.
Dude, that living style is wild.
Despite the fact I eat almost nothing but pizza.
Wow, he's even dissecting his food. Because of his quirks and his strange phobias, it was very difficult for Nick to really connect and get any friends, because nobody really understood him but him.
They would just be mean to me, say mean things. They would... Well, there's one case where one of them literally spit on my back. Seriously. They often...
I feel so bad for this kid. Just, it seems like his living environment, the world he lives in... It's just, like, this is a rough life. Like, if I had everything that was a phobia like that, how do you work through that? Like... Because I'm trying to, like, rationalize it in the way that I have the thing with rats. And I push myself to the best. I don't stop going to the places because the rats exist. I just, like... I'm just, like, more aware of it. And I try to work through it every time. But I don't know how to... how I would do it if I had this many phobias and this much shit. I mean, at a certain point, I would have to self-rationalize and say, I gotta get through life. Otherwise, I'm gonna be stuck like this forever.
Whistle for no reason. Really getting me irritated. You know, it's an easy way to trigger a fight with me is whistling, so better be careful with that.
No hope of getting a significant other either, which he is also...
Dude, like, but look at, like, the ceiling in this place he's living at.
...expressed, but, you know, it is what it is.
So you have no romantic interests?
Nope, I have zero interest in that kind of stuff.
Why is that?
In a lot of things. There's so many negatives on top of one another, on top of another.
Like what?
There's 4-digit negative for just getting married, in a sense. It's so far into negative territory that it almost rivals robbing banks.
Nick
What? Getting married is as bad as robbing banks, bro. What? Bro needs himself some pussy.
has no friends, nobody to connect with, and also lives in one of the US's least populated states.
This explains it all. This explains absolutely everything. This explains absolutely everything to the utmost degree. He lives in fucking North Dakota. He lives in fucking North Dakota, bro. Jeez, what a boring state. I've been all the 50 states. And the most boring one is the Dakotas. I'm just lumping them together. Those are two states that are just boring.
Finding anyone who we can relate
Sorry if you're from North Dakota. My bad, but they're fucking mad lame.
with is pretty much impossible. While in real life he was a weird loner, on the internet he thrived. And this would lead people on the web discovering the story of Ulillillia.
Yeah, dude, it just seems like his parents didn't expose him to stuff early on. It's like they sheltered him too hard, which happens. You get sheltered too hard, and then they just kind of cater to you, and then you become like this.
I found myself at a time in my career.
Like, at any moment, anybody can become this. I understand that there are stuff that is more nature than nurture, but I feel like there's a lot of it that was added on, probably because the enablement of it, and because even like some people that I knew in high school that were really weird, like when they got the exposure of the real world, they changed like drastically. They now had this more broader understanding of how the world actually works, and they started like adapting and learning, and then they became even like different people that previously I thought were kind of like awkward and standoffish, but then all of a sudden they became like hella chill people. Oh, I didn't turn the mute. I fucking left it on mute because of the ad. My bad, bro.
Hey, whatever blows your hair back.
So Nick, in the early 2000s, will discover a way to get his frustrations out and document his life. And using the power of Angel Fire, he created his own website, Ulillillia. Most of the info in this video came from his very own website, as Nick himself did almost all the documentation of himself. He wears his heart on his sleeve, which gives him an extra 500 max HP. On this website, he documents everything. His life, his interests, his fears, what he does for fun, his life.
He's honestly a really sweet guy. And he's one of those people that would be like, oh, you're weird. But I feel like if you just sat down and have a conversation with him, he'd be like the chillest fucking dude.
Dislikes. He put it all out there for the world to see. One thing I neglected to mention is on this website, Nick also documents almost every dream he has. He uses the website as a dream journal of sorts, and having the mind Nick does, he has some weird fucking dreams. Dreams involving video games, dreams where he travels to far off places, dreams where he's covered in mud. It's a trip reading through all the ones he's recorded. But he just doesn't record them. He also reviews and ranks them, categorizes them using mathematic formulas. He went above and beyond for this stuff. Meanwhile, if I were
Bro, you know what's crazy about this? This is what people do to lol cows, and he's doing it to himself. Bro's category, he made a fucking Kiwi Farms page for himself before they ever could. He took the power away from like that's why I don't think he ever could have become a lol cow, because he has all the power. He understands all of his faults. He understands it. He fucking gets it. This is fucking the most self-actualized thing I've ever seen from like a person in this thing. It's like adverse to the normal reaction that you get from this internet world, because usually the trolls and stuff are the ones categorizing your life. But he's just leaving it out there for the world to say and saying, fuck it, who cares, dude? You already know.
to record my dreams, I just put down in a text file, Mario, if he real. Going through the archives of this angel-fired site from the early 2000s is not only nostalgic as hell, but also actually interesting. Even though I'm too grug-brained to understand the mathematic formulas, everything else is a sight for the eyes. Back in the early 2000s, when the internet was still really niche, still being on dial-up and all, there wasn't any one place really following certain individuals like there are now. Well, except for one place. Something Awful. Something Awful being probably the first congregation of internet dwellers looking at weird people and weird things online, someone had happened across Nick's website, and was so perplexed by it, they had to share it with the rest of the site. It was originally meant to just clown on the guy and posted it to the company Goldmine part of the forums. When they shared the website, the people over on Something Awful were polarized. Some were amazed, some were impressed, some were disgusted, and some thought it was a joke. But all of them...
That's but that's who he is. This is who this guy is. He's perplexing to the nth degree. You want to like laugh because he has the traits of a lolcow, but he's so self-relevant of himself being that way that he's just ahead of the curve. This is the most fucking insane thing I've ever seen.
Were definitely intrigued. They had just discovered an absolute oddity, and they weren't going to let him go. In fact, they decided to actively start following him and his endeavors. Now, if you think this is the part where they start screwing with Nick and making his life a living hell, you'd be surprisingly wrong. In fact, the opposite happened. Nick was such a weird and interesting guy, he became somewhat of a little micro-celebrity on Something Awful. Some flat out became obsessed with the guy and desperately tried to get an interview with him or find some way to talk to him, but the monster that put their foot down the people obsessing over him. He was definitely one of the earliest internet celebrities, at least on Something Awful. With this exposure on Something Awful, word of Nick's antics spread to what was the internet at the time, and he quickly gained a cult audience who were now following his website. I don't think he really had a grasp on the idea that potentially dozens and dozens of people were now reading his stories and progress throughout life. But from everything I've seen, he just continued business as usual, updating the website constantly with more stories, progress on life, and other things. So yeah, he's congregated sort of a fan base following him, a lot more impressed and were actually charmed by his motivations and how he got around in his daily life. Then, YouTube came out, and so Nick started using YouTube to record and document his life on there. Although he's since deleted the channel, of course people have archived the videos. His life, his phobias, his dreams, and his math skills are interesting to read.
I wonder if he's gonna get into why he deleted the videos. I wonder if he like had this thing where he was getting trolled a little bit and he deleted it for his own mental health or something. But it's interesting, somebody who documents their life so extensively on like an external website would then delete their YouTube channel.
Read about, but does he have anything he wants to do with these skills? Anything he'd like to apply them to help him in the future? Why, yes. Yes, he does.
What are you thinking when facing your...
Like, I think this is where we're gonna get into that game development you were talking about. I think this is where he talks about how he wanted to be a game developer. I'm just honestly so intrigued by this man. I haven't watched one of these where I didn't have like an opinion on. Usually I have like something I can say, some context I can add, but I'm just so interested in what brought him to this. Like the journey on this is so interesting. Like obviously it's sad that, because like I saw in chat that yeah, there were social creatures, and it's like alien to him. Having a relationship is just as alien as robbing a bank, and it's like yeah, that the lack of social awareness and social exposure has definitely attributed to this. But it's just in the cosm of the internet, having somebody who was so ahead of the curve in documenting somebody as like autistically as somebody would document a locale, but it was themselves, is just like counter to everything I previously had assumed about people like him, like who are overly formal or overly upfront on the internet.
Yeah, I didn't like this stuff.
If you ask me, the most interesting part about everything involving Ulillillia is what he calls his mind game. You see, Nick has played so many video games and spent so much time in them, he has ascended to a new level of video gaming. He has developed his very own video game inside of his mind. Whenever he's bored and not doing anything in particular, he will enter a trance and start playing this video game inside of his head. What does he do inside this so-called mind game? In this mind game, he has superhuman abilities that allow him to do whatever he wants in his mind. Climbing mountains in literal minutes, running at supersonic speeds. And in this mind game, he is completely immune to pain and damage, so he can do basically whatever he wants. And the only person who can stop Nick in this game is Nick himself. In his mind, the chains are taken off and Nick is free. This is a very, very difficult thing to try and express to people.
That's... Could you imagine, put yourself in the position here where everything around you feel like is trying to take you down. Everything around you, you're afraid of. And then your one moment of peace is just sitting down and then going into your mind and being free for 1 minute. Just having that brief minute of freedom. Like, we all have our escapism and stuff, but his life is escapism because his world is so terrifying. And because his escapism is also his identity, he needs something else to free him from that. And so, that's... like, I'm so glad people didn't, like, bully this guy.
Well, what you do in your free time. If you told people you...
And I'm sure some people did, and he did get bullied in school and stuff, but I mean, like, I'm glad that he didn't go down the Christian route. I feel like this guy's just so innocent, and so... he's almost pure in a way.
You're off into space to play this video game you've created inside your head, they would look at you like you're fucking insane. And admittedly, it is a very loaded thing to drop on someone, and Nick knows this. So after years of playing this mind game and trancing in and out of the real world, Nick decided he had to find a way to show everyone the vast amount of creativity and his skills in mathematics, and wanted to give people a way to experience the things he enjoyed, so he got on his computer and started to develop his very own game, called Platform Masters. After graduating high school, Nick would dedicate a lot of his time developing this game. He had no real coding or game development knowledge, nor any artistic skills, but he basically brute force...
I was talking to a developer who kind of did this. I was talking to a developer who kind of brute forced their way in, and then slowly just kept getting better, and then working with other people, and where he had faults, he would out... And this is where somebody like Ulillillia, Nick, would have kind of a disadvantage, because you have to utilize like your social aspects in life to be able to like reach out and find people. Okay, so these people here are better at art than me, so I'm going to pull them in to help me make this game. These people can do better voice acting than me, so I'm going to pull them in. They're going to help me make this game. And he has since created kind of his own little niche in gaming, but Nick is just kind of like isolated so bad that any of his faults he's gonna have to brute force through, but it's still inspiring as fuck, dude. You should always be like, everything in life is achievable to you if you are willing to put in the work and make enough connections to make it happen. And even though he doesn't have the ability to make those connections, it's still inspiring that he sat down and made a game.
Forced all of that with his knowledge of mathematics. He would post constant updates and developments of his game over the years, because, well, this was a collection of all the knowledge and skills he had built up over the years, and for a game made by one guy, who had never developed a game before and never really had any connection to the outside world, it's technically impressive.
I also didn't just individualize them, I also made them bigger, and if you look closely, I've also made an enhancement on the lighting. Whoa, these crazy platforms over here. That one stops. And up I go to the next section. Gotta love platforming, you know?
Nick would dump a ton of time into the development of this game, but that's not to say he didn't do other things, as Nick has also gone out of his way to write books. Yeah, a lot of people I've talked about seem to enjoy writing novels, and I'd rather not talk about some of them.
Buy my book!
Nick's most famous novel is called The Legend of the 10 Elemental Masters. Look at that cover art. Oh my god, I unironically love it. The early CGI look, it has a very nice vibe to it. I went out of my way to read this. In fact, to show you I mean business...
Dude, this is interesting because not only did he develop a game, but he wrote books. And it seems like it got actually published. I mean, like, anybody who wants to clown on him, that's more than 90% of these lolcows do. He's already built a game and gotten a novel published. What the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, this guy's killing it.
I actually went out and bought a hard copy of this. I wanted to tell you all Nick's story and also support him at the same time. And having read through the book, well, I did some speed reading, and I'll just say, This is only made for a very specific group of people. And, well, I really hope you like numbers. The entire book is formatted like an old school RPG, and its plot is also as basic as an old school RPG. The main character is this weird purple furry named Knuckles. Not the Knuckles you're thinking of, but he's described as resembling a human, but with differences. Knuckles is neither male nor female, though referred to as a he. 3/4 inch thick dark violet colored fur covers his entire body. He is only 25 1/3 inches tall, 4 inches wide, and 2.5 inches deep. Knuckles gets his name from his large hands, 40% bigger than a human his size would have. No, we never get any picture of what Knuckles looks like in the book, so here's an artist rendition. You know, I get the feeling that yaoi artists would really enjoy this character. Now, if you couldn't tell, that description of Knuckles is hyper specific. From his exact size, to how thick his fur is, from how big his fists are. Now take that and imagine an entire book like that. This entire book is hyper detailed about all the numbers and the experience gained. Like reading through this, it's clear that the actual plot or anything happening takes a back seat to the number crunching and all the RPG mechanics involved within. It even has some menus on some pages like the status screens in an RPG. I don't think there is a single page in this book that does not have at least one number on it. Plot-wise, it's really easy to follow. It's a very bare-bones plot, but Nick wasn't writing this for the plot. Nick made this book for himself, basically, and there's nothing wrong with that, but don't buy this expecting something made for everyone. I bought this to support Nick. I didn't want anyone to get the wrong idea that I'm trying to pick on.
Yeah, dude, this is interesting. This is awesome.
He's a strange man.
Like, I'm so intrigued right now. It sucks because I want to add, like, more commentary, but, like, at the same time, the dude just, like, has... Like, this is probably the most... I've seen a million of these type of videos, from Turkey Tom to Kiwi Tapes to fucking Smokey MCC, and this is the first one of these where I'm just so intrigued by the guy that I want to be his fucking friend. I feel like he needs more friends, dude. Everybody needs friends, and this guy needs more friends.
Very strange indeed, and I've made some quips here and there, but after all the research I've done on him for this video, he has a lot of issues. But he's overcome all the odds and has found a way to be productive. He'll go on to make more games and write more books. They're all about what you would expect from him.
Barricana, my 2D side-scrolling platformer role-playing game hybrid, has undergone significant change since the last update. I've actually finished every single background, except for shops and a couple other maybe side story related stuff, but that's about it.
He's been known on the web for more than 20 years, and from the looks of things, today, not much.
Dude, I feel like he has the potential to make something great. If he just could like learn about Unity or learn about some of the more modern gaming stuff, I feel like he could maybe develop something really interesting. And it might not break the internet, but I think that he could do something that would be interesting enough to like want to play. Because these platformer ones are not something I will never want to play, but I'm just curious.
It just changed.
It's just like such an intriguing world. I read a comment by someone's on something awful forums, and they were saying how many tried to befriend Nick, but he was difficult. No, I could completely understand that. Like, that's why I said I would want to, but like obviously, like if he was living down the street from me, I would go out of my way to like talk to him and like listen to him and stuff like that. But somebody like that you never really can be true friends with, you know what I mean? Because they don't have the ability to make those connections the same way. But it's about being there for him. And it seems like he's got a good support structure, as much as I've been critical about them enabling him and stuff. He honestly, at this point, just needs a good support structure. And I think that as long as he's got that, he'll be okay.
Playing this thing?
Enough eyes would get on Nick, to the point where eventually someone decided to do a documentary on him. An actual documentary, with a production crew, and not just some guy with editing software, like yours truly. However, during the production of said documentary, Nick's hometown was flooded, and it was pretty devastating on the community. So because of this incident, it's sort of half a documentary on Nick, and the other half is talking to the members of the community and how the flood affected them. It's kind of weirdly formatted, but other than that, it's alright. Strange enough, though, This documentary was completed in 2012, but it did not see the light of day until about 7 years later, and no one
What?
knows why. It is what it is. The documentary goes over pretty much everything I've said in this video.
Interesting. Why would you wait that long?
Nick's life, Nick's aspirations, his family, and also how the flood affected him. Now, don't get the idea you can use this video as a replacement. I highly recommend you go check the original video out yourself. It says way more than I can. But remember, this was made back in 2012. That was 12 years ago. What about today? What is going on with Nick these days? Well, his original website is now no longer up. The domain is completely dead, but archives of it still exist and have been a big help with this video. He's also deleted a lot of the videos he uploaded to YouTube. I guess maybe the fame was a little too much for him or something like that. Even though the man had a bunch of people following him and enjoying what he did, if you have any bit of fame on the internet, you're going to get some trolls and some level of harassment. There are people who just thought Nick was a weird freak who deserved to be castrated or something, when really, the man isn't harming a fly. He keeps to himself and just does what he likes. Checking up on him, he's made a life for himself. He's moved from place to place, doing different odd jobs, still dealing with the same struggles like his picky food choices or phobias. He's taken vacations and swam with the stuff he used to be afraid of. He seems to be living just a normal life. As normal as someone like Nick can have, anyway.
Blue water kills you. Or at least that's what it would have said 21 years ago. I wouldn't have even touched a rain puddle of all things. And yet, here I am, sunk in up to my neck in it.
See, mate, you know what I think? You know what I think at the end of all this is what I said earlier. Where I knew people like this growing up. And then when they hit the real world and they started exploring for themselves, they became completely different people. I feel like maybe he just started to evolve and started to make those connections in real life and started exploring and started fighting his own fears and just trying to really experience stuff. I mean, that's the best you could do. If you're like, I used to be afraid of heights as a kid, and now I don't even have a fear of it even a little bit because I kept pushing myself with the heights. Now, I don't know how to do that with rats and mice, and I'm not, like, anybody who's willing to be like, oh, I want to be covered in rats and mice, go ahead. That's disgusting. I'm like, why? They're so disease-ridden. It's like, it's just an illogical thing to do. But like stuff like blue water, stuff like heights, you can constantly evolve, and I saw the blur filter messing up and I realized it was my cat behind me, but you can like constantly evolve as a person. It seems that's what Nick's doing, and it's honestly impressive. Good for him.
And it's about as blue as it can ever get.
You'll probably be sad to hear that Platform Masters is still not available to the public, despite working on it for well over a decade. He is currently working on other projects though. He has a Patreon up where he gives updates on some of his games. He's making almost $800 in Patreon money every month just by doing this. That's a pretty chunk of change. So yeah, he still has a very dedicated following. He still updates about his games and his personal life to this very day. Very recently, he had his name legally changed to Ryan because he just likes the name Ryan.
Just I fucking hate the name Nick. I'm Ryan now. I'm fucking not Ryan. I finally got my name changed. It's been 6 years in the making, riddled with delays, close calls, but it's finally happened. I have the legal papers to go with it. I was Nick Smith before, but now I am officially Ryan Evan Caterin. Ryan is my favorite name. Evan is my third favorite. Second is Melissa. And Adrian is my fifth. Fourth is Karen. I added the twist by putting a K in front of the putting a K in front and pronunciation change. This opens up another avenue. I can get my passport, but I will have to wait until I have one thing on my life's wish list first: financial stability. Finishing and releasing Barinica should do that. In other news, we will most likely be moving to Oregon soon, and as the friend he has been living with is no longer able to accommodate him here. He may end up having to move back to North Dakota, unfortunately. Oh, there's an archive
technically,
post.
I've been using an outdated name.
So the quote was the quote, and then that other part was somebody else.
This entire time. But hey, listen, I already wrote most of the script before I found this out, and I didn't want to bother pronouncing Ulillillia this entire time. Leave me alone! So why did I make this video so much different compared to the other ones? Well, There are a lot of absolutely screwed up people who found their way to the internet, and it is fun to see them flop and flail around like a trout on land, but sometimes you get success stories, like Nick, and you gotta show them. This is a man who is self-admittedly severely mentally ill, but not only did he use the strengths he had, he also overcame many of his fears. I mean, the man used to be scared of grass for Christ's sake, but now here he is, making his own games, making hunters on Patreon, and still trying to navigate through life. I've seen a lot of people call Nick the good Christian. They were both guys who were very mentally ill.
Yep, he's the good Christian. He is 100% the good Christian. I was thinking that throughout this entire video, that this is what, if Christian would have gotten the good ending, this is what it would have been like.
Didn't have good social skills and didn't seem like they were going to go far. One went on a path of self-destruction, and the other actually did impressive things and lives a semi-normal life. But calling him the good Christian, I think, is underselling him. The story of Ulillillia is one that shows you, no matter how often your own disorders or insecurities get in the way, you can use what you have in any way you want and make a name for yourself. It's not over for you, you'll just have to persevere in your own way. Ulillillia, Nick, or Ryan, whatever you want to call him, was one of the first internet oddities. At surface level, he may seem like a gigantic weirdo, but when you dig in deeper, you see a man who was dealt a bad hand, but used what he had to get through life. And if that isn't a compelling...
And, you know, I think the same problems with Ryan, Nick, Ryan, Ulillillia, whatever, he had the same, he had all the same things working against him as Christian. You look at his living environment, it was all the same. But when it came down to it, he didn't see the world as out to get him. He was out to get the world. And he proved that in every section. He was out to get the world. Not in like a violent way or anything. He was out there to do what he had planned in his own mind and do the best he could. Had all these dreams and all these things he wanted to fulfill. And he wasn't going to let all of the outside things that bothered him so much stop him from doing that. And that's a message that you can pass to anybody, and they will be better for it.
A motivating story. I don't know what is. Please go support him and his endeavors. I feel he deserves it. God bless, like and subscribe, and good night. And remember, boys and girls, Ulillillia was the world's biggest Bubsy fan, so no one else would have to be. That's among his greatest accomplishments. Godspeed.
This was great.
There you have it. Max score. That's how easy
Subscribe to Magic Mushy. He's a fantastic creator. I enjoyed the fuck out of this video. It was fantastic. This was a remarkable story. This is Christian the good ending. This is Christian the good ending, and it's honestly remarkable that we are in this position and we have this going for us. Like, that we found there's somebody out there who's not an absolute... A guy that has the traits of a lolcow without ever being a lolcow. Taking all the power all the power from the internet and all these trolls and internalizing it for himself and being like, yeah, I have control. Without, like, it's just so brilliant. Man, that was good. Man, that was good. Shit, dude.